So we changed from WatchXChange to a collective man about a month and a half ago. And the reason we did that was because quite simply the market had changed and we as a business had changed and our typical client had changed and the kinds of watches we were selling had changed. So much so that WatchXChange felt for some time too much like a sort of a commoditized, very sort of sales orientated, discount orientated name and brand. It didn't really suit what we were doing today. And today we are really very much more focused on rare watches. Vintage, pre-owned, independent, and some new independents. And because of that, we're basically selling much lower volumes of watches, and they're much harder to find. And so all of that involves curation. And typically our clients now are much more people who are sort of big collectors of watches. So they have, 3, 4, 5 of the same kind, and they're looking for that perfect 6th example. And so we develop relationships, and as a result of that shift towards working with collectors over one-off buyers and towards buying and selling rare watches as opposed to perhaps the more traditional run-of-the-mill Submariner or Breitling, it made sense to change to a name that reflected that. We were very lucky. I was very lucky. I developed relationships, friendships with a number of the big independent watchmakers early on, particularly Roger Smith and Carrie Boutelin, and that allowed us to create a situation whereby they felt comfortable recommending us to their clients when people got in touch, because it often happened that watchmakers would find themselves in this awkward situation where a client would call up and say, look, I'm terribly sorry, I know this is really awkward, but I'd love to sell my watch. It's got nothing to do with the watch. I've just decided to buy this, or I need to downsize, or I'm doing X. And actually, watchmakers themselves have no problem with that. They have no discomfort with it. But there's a perception on the part of clients that is an issue. And so to suddenly have a third party where they can just recommend that you get in touch because they've endorsed you or they've approved you as a pre-owned retailer, simplifies their life. So it was a win for the watchmaker, or equally so because we told the story properly. We didn't just dump it amongst a catalogue of watches, and we really took the time to explain why this watch was special, and we took the time to do a lot of nice photography and videography to support it. But it was a win for the clients because we were able to achieve better returns consistently than they would ever get at auction or elsewhere, with a few exceptions of course always. And it was a win for us because it allowed us to quickly develop a niche sort of position in a market that actually is fantastically interesting and detailed and rich with real horological pedigree. So in our case, we are starting to sell new independent watches. So we're selling a Crivia, we're selling Fiona Kruger, and we're selling Moritz Grossman, because all three of them have this fantastic common DNA, which is an entrepreneurial spirit. Moritz Grossman and Glashütte are facing off against the other big established beasts of the German watchmaking industry. Fiona Kruger is this fantastic Scottish independent watchmaker who moved to Switzerland and with a fantastic fine art background created something quite exceptional, working with people like Carrie and Peter Spiekmeyer and others. And then we have a Crivia where you have someone, Rexer Recipe, a gentleman who did his apprenticeship at Patek and won all these awards, and then graduated and worked in complicated watchmaking straight away, founded his own company, and at my age has now been doing this for 4 or 5 years, and all of his watches have got tourbillons in them, monopusher chronographs and the like. They all have this entrepreneurial, boundary-pushing, path-finding approach to watchmaking, which I admire. I think what we're seeing today is where back in the day you might have had, quote-unquote purist, very specialist collectors interested in very niche areas, very niche watches, exchanging messages privately on forums. What you're seeing now is that people who otherwise might have been put off by the need for knowledge of detail and the absence of time and interest to spend the necessary sort of time in the trenches, finding out about a particular brand before feeling safe to buy. These people are now being informed more and more by other platforms, educating themselves, and as a result of that education, as a result of that access to information, they're feeling very comfortable buying vintage for the first time at a higher price point than they might otherwise ever dared. And that means that you're basically getting a younger demographic coming through, because more and more people are active on Instagram, more and more people are active on social media, and more interested in sort of anything they can pick up about a particular brand.